Hello, students. This video is an introduction to Chemistry 121, uh, the first chemistry course. And I'm just going to go through some things that you can expect in the course and how to navigate Canvas and some things like that. So sit back and enjoy the video. There's a picture of me. I'm not showing my face in this video, but I will do it in the welcome video. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's do that. Hang on. Share screen. There we go. And I'm going to go into the classroom. And notice that I am in student view here, not in instructor view. So this is exactly what you're going to see when you log into the classroom. The classroom will be available on August 8th, I believe, or is it August 6th? I think it's August 6th, on the Wednesday before the course starts. So when you log in, you're going to automatically be directed to the home page. Let me just tell you a couple things about the home page. The home page will have something called recent announcements at the top, and it will show the most recent three announcements that I've posted to the class. Right now, there's none there because my welcome announcement won't be going out until the beginning of week 0, which is Wednesday. All right, but when you log in, you're going to see the most recent three announcements. So there's no excuse at all not to read the announcements. They're right there when you log in. All right, so that's what's on the home page, the name of the course, etc. And then we're going to go ahead and go down and look at what else is here. You will see my name. My name is Dawn Cox. I will be making a welcome video about myself probably later today to post in the course. You can always contact me by email. That's what I prefer. I will talk about other methods of contacting me a little bit later, but there's my email address. Also, you will see some important dates. As I mentioned, the course starts on August 11th. That's a Monday. But week 0 starts the Wednesday before that, so you will have access to the course. Then the drop deadline is 3 days after that on the 14th. So if you decide you really kind of enrolled in this course wrongly or whatever, and you need to get out of it before it even starts, really, the last day to do that with your advisor's help is August 14th. If you decide to withdraw later in the course, then you have to go through me. But I'll talk about that at the end of this of this video. And then the last day to request a withdrawal is on September 23rd. I also will be placing a link to this video here on the main page. I'll also be placing it in a couple of places in the modules so that nobody will miss it. It's there all over the place. All right, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to stay in student view for a while until I get into until I get into modules, because this is what you're going to see when you log in. If you're not familiar with Canvas, there's a menu here on the left side that gives you links to all the various parts of the course. I'm gonna kind of do these one by one, but let's go into the syllabus because there are 3 things I want to cover in the syllabus. The first thing that you're going to see is you're going to see my introduction here. I'm going to be changing this welcome introduction because it's a little bit outdated. So that will be a little bit different. Probably look a little bit different when I change that. But you can also read about me via text. The introduction video is good because it kind of talks about, it gives you images of where I went to school and about my family and my pets and all that kind of stuff. So you can watch that for interesting things about me. The thing I do want to mention here is office hours. We're required by GMC policy to post 2 office hours every week, but from my experience, students never use these, and I prefer not to either. So what you need to do is that if you need to meet with me in an office hour kind of situation, you have questions about your lab report or whatever, email me and we will come up with a time and day that works for both of us, and we'll arrange to meet on the phone or in Zoom, or there is like this thing called the big blue button that I can use to meet with students for a short meeting. So we'll arrange that if you just let me know, and we'll come up with a time. Okay? So there's about office hours. Now, one other thing I want to mention is the syllabus in Canvas is one huge long syllabus. If you remember in Moodle, you had all this menu over here that would give you like various parts of the syllabus. You could click on it and go to them. No, you have to scroll through the whole thing. So this is good because you might as well go through and just kind of skim everything in the syllabus as you're going through it. What I want to do is I want to skip down to, here we go, the course schedule. If you are a person who likes to see due dates all in one place, not like spread all over the place, this is where you would want to do that in the syllabus under course schedule. Because I went through it before term start, and I just posted everything about the due dates for everything. All right. In week 1, notice that your first post is due on Friday, not Wednesday. Every other week during the term, your first post is going to be due on Wednesday. And then everything else is due on Sunday nights. And you can just go through here and look at these. Notice that in week 2, your first post is due on Wednesday, not Friday. So that was only for a week 1 kind of thing. And just go through here and you can see all the due dates if you're a person that likes to see all that in one spot. And then the last thing I want to talk about in the syllabus is the rubric for our discussion board. And this probably doesn't look like it, but civil discord forums are the fancy way of saying discussion board. So I want to just kind of go through the rubric for how those are graded. And here's the rubric. Whoopsie. Here's the rubric. There are 4 categories. I'll scroll down to that last one when we get there. The first one is peer-to-peer interaction, and you are required to reply to 2 classmates, or I could be included in that. I do have some requirements here in this peer-to-peer interaction. If you just post, Ken, I really liked your post, good job, and you don't add anything to that, I don't count that as a post, because obviously that student is just trying to get in their 2 replies. And to me, that's not a reply. You're not adding to the discussion at all. You're just trying to get the points for that peer-to-peer interaction. So if you do that, you can count on me saying, I'm sorry, that post didn't count. So they need to be substantial, adding to the discussion in some way. All right, so there's the first category. The second one is pretty simple. You contribute over 2 days. All right, remember that your first post is due on Wednesday, and anybody who wants to post before Wednesday, I love you, because I do reply to everybody's initial post and ask questions and maybe point you in some direction to help you understand the material better. Unless you post on the last day. If you post on Sunday, I do not respond to anybody's post on Sunday. That's kind of, by then nobody's going to be checking back or anything anyways, because everything's due that night. So if you can post before Wednesday, that's great, because then I won't have so many posts to respond to on Wednesday night. All right, so if you post your first post on Tuesday, let's say, and then you post your second post on Friday, that's great. You get your credit. All right. The third category is content relevance. And this is the most important one, because this one is where I'm going to say, do you understand what you're talking about? Are you learning from this assignment? All right. So here's some requirements for that. Number 1, your post must be, all of your posts, all replies and your initial posts must be 150 words in length. And I do not count greetings or references in that. So a greeting would be something like, Sally, I really liked your post where you talked about this. And then you go on to add stuff to the discussion. Well, I'm not going to include that greeting in that 150 words. Also, your post needs to be on topic, and it needs to cover everything, the topic thoroughly. And if I do ask you a question, it's a really good idea to respond to me because I do kind of count that as completing the topic. So make sure you check back and kind of respond to my questions. All right, so if you do everything correct, you get your full credit. If you let's say one of your replies was not 150 words, then you might get 3 points. And then if none of your posts was 150 words, you might get 0 for that. Or if all your posts were kind of off topic and really didn't contribute to the discussion, you might get 0 for that. All right, and then the last one, again, is very simple. If you reply by the deadline, which is normally Wednesday, then you get full credit. If you reply on Thursday, you get 3 points. And if you reply on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, you get 0 points. Okay, so there is the rubric and basically my interpretation of the rubric. So there it is. Okay. Over here, I'm going to go through the sidebar here. Announcements, you would click on this to see the most recent or all of the announcements in the term. Right now, there's none in Student View because the term has not started. I do have a welcome announcement ready to go, but it's not sent out until the first day of week 0. All right, I'm going to skip modules for just a minute because I'm going to go through some things in detail there. Grades, this is where you would go. You click on grades to see your grades. And if you click on each assignment, at least the ones I grade, I don't grade, the homeworks and quizzes. Those are automatically graded by the system. But the things that I grade, if you click on that assignment like a lab report, you can go through and read my feedback. I'm really good at giving good feedback. So please do read through it. Then you do have some tutoring available. We have BrainFuse. If you click on that link, you're going to be asked to click on an external link, and then they will ask you questions about what class you're taking, etc. And you can get free tutoring. Then people, this is like, who's in the class with you if you're interested in looking at that. Then the GMC library is there. You may need the library for some of your forum posts, but I doubt it. Okay, and then this last link is a passport to Canvas. This is if you're new to Canvas and you need help, then you can go to this passport and go ahead and get some help. And it goes through some tutorials and videos and things like that. Okay, so that's everything I wanted to talk about on this menu. Let's go into modules now. And again, I'm still in student view. So this is exactly what you're going to see. The first link is how to be successful in the course. You might want to skip or, click on that and just skim through it because it does give some helpful hints about, being successful in an online class. Then the student handbook, if you need to look at that. This is the one I want to concentrate on is this Leadership College student resources. All right. This is where you can find all the stuff that you might need. Okay. It's going to open a new window. Excuse me. I got to go to a new window. Okay. So here is some stuff. Here's the Canvas help link. Request for technical assistance. There's a link for that. Accessing free Microsoft Office. Then forms, like for example, if you want to get an incomplete or if you get kicked out of the class for non-attendance at the beginning, this is where you can try to get put back in the course, academic appeals forms, etc. All right, and then the useful links down here are things like academic calendar, catalog, GMC help desk, all right, and then some stuff about the library. There's a bunch of other things down here. All right, so just all kinds of help. I don't really want to go through any of these except for one, and I think I need to go back up to the top again for that. All right, so you can see there's help for everything here. But let me go back up to this top part because I want to show you one particular link. There is a link for disability services. And if you click on that link, you're going to go into the disability services page, and you can just kind of scroll down. And here's the guy that you want to contact. Let's say that you think you have an undiagnosed disability that could get you some special accommodations in your courses, here's the guy you want to contact, Charles Wells. There's his email address, and he can assist you in how to apply for accommodation. If you have questions about existing accommodations and that kind of thing, there's the guy to talk to. Okay, so there is the student resources. Make sure you at least go through that and kind of just take a look at it, because that can be very helpful. All right, let's go back to this main page. Okay, I'm going to go back to modules. Here we go. And we're going to scroll on down. I'm going to talk about everything here, or not everything, but almost everything. Here's the way to find the textbook. All right, there's two ways to access your ebook. The first one, and this is one I recommend, is to go ahead and download it in PDF form. That way it's on your hard drive and you can access it at any time, even if you don't have access to the internet at that time. You can still go in and read whatever you're supposed to read for the week. Or you can use the web-based version if you don't like cluttering up your hard drive with stuff like this. You can use the web-based version. Just keep in mind, though, if you do that, if your internet goes out, you're not going to be able to use that. All right, below that is lab information. We do have lab reports in this class that are pretty specific. And I really am going to request, almost require that you watch this video. This is a video that I made last term. It's the same old video. I mean, it's the same thing every term, so I didn't make a new one this term. But if you watch this video, it's going to walk you through exactly what is required for your lab report, exactly what's required. And it also will discuss the rubric for the lab reports. So please make sure that you watch this video. It's not very long. It's less than half an hour long, and it will walk you through the lab reports. All right, and then the rest of this here, I talk about this in the video. So I'm going to skip the rest of that because you've got access to that video. All right, as I mentioned, you will have access to week 0, where you'll be able to see all this stuff up here that I went through. You'll be able to see all of that, but you will not have access to week 1 yet. You will, once week 1 opens on the August 8th, which is the first day of the term, you will see this. You will see this attendance requirement and the participation in academic honesty verification. This is whited out. I'm sorry about that, but I'm in student view, and this stuff will not open until August 11th for students. So it's whited out right now, but you would be able to click on this and open that up. Okay. So let's say that you do that. You do your what we call the PAHF. This just goes through and tests your knowledge about the syllabus and things like that. And you have to get 100% on it to move on. Once you do that, then week 1 will open. And I just want to go through what you're going to see in week 1. I can't click on anything. So I'm going to leave student view, everyone, for just a minute. And it's going to kind of mess things up for us. I have to go in instructor view, but I do want to be able to go through these things here. So let me go into instructor view, and let's go down to week 1. All right. So here is what you're going to see in each week. You're going to see, well, in week 1, there's a special thing. This is my video of measurement and dimensional analysis. Measurement is very important in any science class, but particularly in chemistry, because you are measuring out liquids and things like that when you're doing your labs, and you need to understand measurement and significant figures. Also, dimensional analysis is the main method that is used, main math method that's used in chemistry and in physics, and sometimes in biology and other courses. Let's say that you need to for example, you need to convert the number of grams of sodium hydroxide to the number of moles. Well, you would use dimensional analysis to do that. And this video goes through dimensional analysis in detail and explains it. So if you're not familiar with dimensional analysis, I do recommend you watch this video. All right, and then course overview. This is going to be where you're going to see the readings. I'm going to show you this in a minute. There's a math review that kind of goes through some things that you need to know about math. It's worth 5 points, so I recommend doing it because I will put a 0 in if you don't. And 5 points is 5 points, right? And then supplementing materials is videos and things like that. And then I want to show you something here that's really important, but kind of simple actually. If you look at what's the activities are, you've got the discussion board. Remember the civil discourse forum. You've got a problem set to do, a quiz to do, and then the lab report. All right. I want you to look below each of these assignments because the due date for each assignment and the number of points it's worth is given underneath the assignment. So nobody can say I didn't understand that the due date was this day because it's right there underneath the assignment for every single assignment. Now remember that the first post for the forum or for the discussion is on most of the time on Wednesday. On the first week, it's due on Friday because I understand that students have a little bit of trouble kind of acclimating to the course, and they might need a few extra days to get it together to post that first post. So it's due on Friday in week 1 only. Every other week, the first post is due on Wednesday. All right, so there is what you're going to see. Now, I'm going to go through this in instructor view, and it's going to be messed up a little bit. Some of these things you're not going to see the same thing that I'm showing you, but I'm going to point it out as I go through this. What I recommend you do at the beginning of each week is go ahead and click on the top thing. Whatever the top thing is in week 1, click on it. And you're going to go through and just view everything so that you know what to expect in week 1. All right, you don't need to do anything right now, but go ahead and let's click on my dimensional analysis measurement video. Whoopsie, I did not want to do that. Let's try again. Why is it doing that? Okay, there we go. So you will see a link here to open that in a new window. It is on YouTube, so you'll just watch a YouTube video to watch that. All right, and then so you know about this, right? Click on next. And it's going to open up the next thing in that list, which is the overview. It's going to give you the overview and what you're expected to learn. And then it tells you what chapter to read in the book. Now, notice there's a link here that you could click on to take you to the web version of the book. But if you have it already downloaded on your hard drive, you can just go read it there. All right, and then next again. Okay, this is not what you would see. As I mentioned, I'm in instructor view here. You would see the actual math review, what you do, and it would ask you to open it up to do the quiz. All right, so this is instructor view, but you could kind of just take a look at the math review and everything. I don't put due dates on that math review, so you can just do that anytime you want to. All right, and then click on next again. And you're going to see supplemental materials. So here's some videos and things you can watch if you want to. Then next again. Now you don't need to do any of this right now. I'm just saying go through this and look at what you're going to be doing in week 1. Okay, now this one's important because this is your discussion board for the week. So I recommend as you're going through, like I'm telling you to do right now, that you go ahead and skim this. And there's usually going to be an article that you have to read to do the discussion. So you might want to go ahead and download that article right now so that you have it, and then just kind of read what's expected of you in your first post. That way you're going to be ready for the deadline for your initial post. So I recommend paying attention to this one as you're going through on the first day of week 1. All right, or week 2 or week 3 or whatever it is. All right, and then click next again. Okay, this one's going to be messed up again. This is the problem set. All right, again, you're just going to see the problem set and it's going to say, do you want to start the problem set now? And so just, skip that. Don't do it. And then click on next. The next thing is the quiz. All right, so again, you're going to see the quiz. It's going to, have a link there for you to start the quiz. Don't do it right now because you're just looking at stuff. So click on next. All right, this again, I put the lab report video here. So again, if you have not watched it at this point, please do. Like I said, I can't require that you watch it, but It's highly recommended because I can tell who has watched it and who hasn't when I grade their first lab report. Because the people who haven't watched it usually get a very poor score on their first lab report. I'm just warning you. And I don't like giving poor scores. So that's why I want you to watch this. All right. Again, click next. Okay, and this is where you would submit the lab report, you're going to see something very different. If you're in student view, I'm sorry about this, but I can't go into student view right now because it's not open yet. But there's the rubric for the lab reports, and I do go through that rubric in that video that I keep mentioning. So again, this is where you would submit the lab report, but how do you know what the lab report is? Well, click on next again. And here is the actual lab report. So I go through this in that video, so I'm not going to really go through this now, but this is where you would want to open up and read the background about the lab. I do go through everything in that video, go through the procedure. Here's where you would click on a link to go to the actual lab that you're going to do. But it has good instructions all the way through. And like I said, I go through all of this in that video. All right, and that is basically it. If I click next again in instructor view, it's going to take me to week 2. But you would not have access to week 2 yet because it hasn't opened. So there would be no next button for you at the end of week 1. Okay, so that is what I recommend that you do each week. Just go ahead and click on the first thing, go through everything so that you know what's expected and what your readings are and what videos you have access to, what's expected in the lab report. You should read through the lab report early in the week, just so you know what's going to be expected in that lab report, and also for the form. All right. So that is everything that I wanted to go through in the modules. Let me just go back there for just a moment. As I mentioned, your modules will open on Sunday mornings. So week 2 will open on, let's see, what is it? It says at the bottom here, August 17th. It will open on August 17th. So you'll have access to all the stuff for week 2 on the following Sunday after everything. You can see the due date is the same date, same Sunday, as the next that next week opens on that same day. All right, so that is pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in Canvas. I do want to mention withdrawals now, because we have I don't know if you've been away from GMC for a few terms or something, we're doing something a little different with withdrawals. We no longer automatically withdraw a student for non-attendance. We used to do that at 12 days. We would email the student and say, hey, I'm going to withdraw you. You haven't been in the class. So we don't do that anymore. You have to request a withdrawal if you want to withdraw from the class. And you would do that by emailing me from your GMC email and request it. All right, I'm going to do 2 things once you do that. I'm going to say, number 1, did you contact your advisor about that requesting a withdrawal? Because sometimes there are academic and monetary consequences to withdrawing from a class. Some financial aid will not allow you to do that. They won't pay for the course again if you withdraw. So you need to check with your advisor about specifics on that. I'm not an expert on that at all. So I would ask you to do that, and I will not withdraw you until I get an email back from you saying that you have contacted your advisor and that you still want to do it. Okay, then I'm going to do number 2. Number 2, I'm going to try to talk you out of it. I would like everybody to be successful in my classes, and I have talked people out of it where they have been extremely successful, and they're really glad that I did that. Let me give you an example. Okay, I've been using Ken as my examples. Let's use him again. Let's say that Ken had a family emergency in week 3, and he was unable to do any of the assignments in week 3. And he's all flustered, and he just kind of thinks, I think I'll just withdraw and take the class again later. All right, so he sends me an email requesting it, and I do the thing with the advisors. And then I say, okay, Ken, I see that you you missed all of the assignments in week 3. Well, I'm willing to work with you. Let's see if we can get you caught up with week 3. I will extend all of the due dates. The only thing I will not extend is the discussion. I don't accept late discussions. But everything else, if you've got a family emergency or something, and I will work with you. Okay, unless it like becomes a habit, then I won't work with you. But if it happens once, maybe twice during the term that you need an extension for something, I'll work with you, no problem. So I'll talk Ken out of it if I can. And like I said, I've had students who are very successful after that because they get all caught up, they feel better, they're ready to move on to the next week, and they keep up with the rest of the term and they do fine. They do great. So they're happy that I did that I talked them out of it. All right. One other thing I want to mention with the withdrawals is let's say, okay, I'm still talking about Ken here. I usually grade everything for GMSA on Monday. I try to do it all on Monday, but sometimes I do the lab reports on Tuesday. I'm teaching 2 sections this term, so I'm guessing that some of the lab reports are going to be graded on Tuesday. It's just too much for me to try to do, 50 lab reports in one day, right? That's too much. I would probably get kind of grumpy by the end of that. And not, that's not good for students to have a grumpy instructor grading, right? So, I'll grade on Monday and Tuesday. And I will notice that Ken did not submit any assignments for week 3. So I'm going to send him an email. And I'm just going to say something like, Ken, I know I just finished grading week 3 and I noticed that you didn't do your assignments. Did something happen? Are you okay? Could you take a moment to email me back and let me know what's going on? And so, that way Ken can email me back and we avoid that withdrawal scrambling thing because I tell him, okay, yeah, I'll work with you. Let's get those due dates reset. And then after 12 to 14 days, I'm required to send out a kind of a canned email that just talks about the fact that you've been gone for 14 days and you need to request a withdrawal if you want to withdraw, etc. So I'm pretty good about keeping up on top of things if a student is absent. So you can keep that in mind. All right, that is it. That is everything that I wanted to talk about today. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing right now and go back to our Zoom page again with my ugly mug there. And that is it. So I'm going to go ahead and end this session. If you have any questions, make sure that you email me, and I'm always here to answer them. All right, that's it.